Lesson 14, the urinary system. This diagram shows us the anatomy of the urinary system. Two paired kidneys. The kidneys is where filtration of the blood is going to occur to produce urine. That urine then will travel from each kidney through one of two ureters. The ureters are going to carry urine to the urinary bladder where it can be stored, and then a single urethra carries urine to the external orifice. So do not confuse the ureters with the urethra. Functions of the urinary system. The urinary system is very important in maintaining homeostasis because it filters the blood and maintains the composition of the blood by excreting metabolic waste products. Recall in our lesson of the cardiovascular system, the cardiovascular system really links all other body systems together, and so if blood composition changes and gets outside of the physiological parameters, other body systems are very quickly going to begin feeling the effects of that. And so the urinary system is critical in maintaining blood composition and overall homeostasis. Nitrogenous waste products are removed. This includes ammonia. Much of the ammonia is then converted into urea. This is nitrogen waste that originates from amino acid breakdown, and also creatine and uric acid or nitrogenous waste products that must be eliminated. The urinary system is also very important in maintaining the pH of blood. pH, you might recall, is the concentration of protons. So the urinary system can excrete more or less proton, and in doing so, it monitors the pH of the blood. Also, the urinary system controls the concentration of salt in the blood, and by doing so, it indirectly then can control the amount of water in the blood. The amount of water in the blood determines blood volume and also pressure. So really all of these are critically linked together. Salt concentration, water concentration, blood volume, and blood pressure, all linked together. There's also some hormones that are produced by the kidneys. A hormone called aldosterone, which controls how much sodium is excreted. So again, we just mentioned that salt concentration determines water concentration, determines blood volume and blood pressure. And so aldosterone is involved in this. And another hormone, erythropoietin, controls red blood cell synthesis. And this is also produced by the kidneys. This is a section through the kidney. The outermost layer is called the renal cortex, and then if you start from the outside, that renal cortex, and move inward deeper in the kidney, that intermediate portion is called the renal medulla. There are some visible striations there, which are called the pyramids of the medulla. You also see in this diagram to the left-hand side, you can see the renal artery, and so that's going to be blood coming into the kidney to be filtered, and then the renal vein, which carries blood away from the kidney. The functional unit, the filtration unit, is called a nephron. We'll look at the structure of the nephron in just a moment, but the nephron portion of it is found in the cortex of the kidney, in that outer layer, and then some of the tubules, which we'll identify in just a moment, dip down into the renal medulla. The last tube that we will identify in the nephron is called a collecting duct, and urine forms in the nephron. It drains down the collecting duct. That collecting duct opens up into some openings called calyces right in the center of the kidney, and those calyces open into larger openings, eventually the area called the renal pelvis, and the ureter exits that renal pelvis. Recall from that previous diagram, the ureter is going to carry the urine then to the urinary bladder. Here is the nephron. This is the filtration unit in the kidney. So we'll begin with the afferent arteriole. This is carrying blood into a structure called the glomerulus. The glomerulus is a capillary network where filtration actually occurs. So the afferent arteriole carries blood to the glomerulus, and then following filtration that blood leaves through an efferent arteriole. This is a very unusual organization to have a capillary bed like the glomerulus between arterioles. Remember, generally a capillary bed is fed by an arteriole, and then you have a venule that leads away from the capillary bed. In this instance, we have capillaries embedded between arterioles because we need more blood pressure. Filtration of the blood in the glomerulus is driven by blood pressure. There is a structure surrounding the glomerulus called the glomerular capsule. So as materials are filtered out of the blood in the glomerulus, they catch in this cup or capsule, the glomerular capsule, and then that material is going to be called the filtrate. That filtrate passes from the glomerular capsule through the proximal convoluted tubule. The proximal convoluted tubule then leads to the loop of the nephron. This is the hairpin loop that dips down into the renal medulla. So we have a descending limb of the loop of the nephron and then an ascending limb. The loop of the nephron then leads to the distal convoluted tubule, and then finally we get to the collecting duct. So anything that remains in these kidney tubules, ultimately in the collecting duct, is urine. We're going to filter the blood. We'll go through the steps of urine formation in this next segment. The filtration happens in the glomerulus, and then that filtrate moves through these tubules. Some things are going to be reabsorbed or secreted into or out of some capillaries that also surround the kidney tubules. So there is an extensive peritubular capillary network that wraps all around these kidney tubules.